Hey guys, and welcome back to another video. Today I'm so excited to have my friend Melissa with me. Melissa, where can we find you?
Well, I'm on Instagram and YouTube and Facebook under the Andy's Closet. I kind of branded myself miraculously the same on everything.
I love it. That's so easy and just concise. But I am going to leave everything down below. So if you guys want to go ahead and check out her links, you can find them very easily right there. So Melissa, with this whole series, I've been doing a lot of talk about Poshmark, but with you, I do want to talk a little bit about Poshmark, but I also want to talk about ThredUP because you are just crushing it in the ThredUP game. And I feel like ThredUp has just gotten such a bad rap from people sending in items that don't do well. But if you know what to send in, I feel like it can be such an amazing stream of income. So is there anything about ThredUp you'd love to share with us?
Just that there is a lot of misinformation out there, and people will say, oh, you could only make pennies, and that's just not true. I think it really depends on what you're sending in. So people send in like a lot of Forever 21. It's not going to make you any money. So you got to kind of pick what you're sending in, I think.
What are probably like the top 2 mistakes you think people make with ThredUp besides sending in Forever 21?
They don't adjust their prices. I think that's the biggest mistake people make, is they send things in and they forgot about it because they want to set it and forget it. It's not a crock pot. It doesn't work that way. So you need to adjust your prices. And then I think another mistake is people don't adjust them high enough. Like they're too scared to do max. I get so many messages on Instagram saying, I'm scared to do it. I'm scared to do it. It's not going to sell. I'm like, that's what I do. So I would never get my full price sales if I never started there.
I have watched your YouTube videos, so I already know how you price, but will you tell us a little bit about how you price high and then when you know to drop?
Well, it's not a real concise way I drop things. I kind of just do what I feel like doing. But I start everything at max price. So I send it in, I wait for them to accept it. I go in the 12-hour window, which I hate, but that's okay. The 12-hour window, I adjust everything up to max, and then I try to wait 14 to 30 days. Now that kind of depends. If it's 90-day window, then I wait about 30 days. If it's a 60-day window, I try to wait more than 2 weeks, but sometimes I don't, but that's okay. And then I start dropping things. I try to do like 10% at a time because I feel 5% will give people the message. But apparently it won't give everyone the message if you send more than, I think, 7 a day, if you drop more than 7 prices. Another person told me that, but I don't actually know how true that is. But I just drop them anyway, because that person who buys it may not necessarily have liked that item before. And I feel like people shop on ThredUp via price point. So they look between $50 and $150 for whatever they're looking for. Then they don't see everything else. So if you have price too low, they're not going to see it. And I think that's happens to a lot of people.
I think that's such good information. Now, if somebody is just adjusting prices for the first time, how do they know how high they can price it?
Well, I do it online because your phone is a little tricky. So I do it online. Tap in 99999, and in red underneath that, it'll tell you what your max price is. You price it for $1 less than whatever that price is.
Now, I don't know if this has ever happened to you or not, but have you ever sent something in and the max price wasn't high enough?
Yes.
What do you do in that situation?
Well, recently you can't do chat feature, which kind of sucks a little bit, but you can send them an email at that point, and email takes a really long time for them to actually respond, which is a point of contention right now. But normally, in normal circumstances, I will contact them via chat, and they usually, within a couple hours to a couple of days, they freeze the item and they adjust it, but they won't adjust your price. You still have to go in there and adjust your price. If they adjust it, like only one item they didn't adjust, but most of my items that I've asked them to adjust back, higher. Sometimes I had to give them examples, like off of the website or we'll even use Trendy as a source. Say, hey, well, there's a selling a Trendy for blah, 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 please adjust it. And then they do. But yeah, so it can be tricky when they misprice things, but I want to say that's not the norm. So normally majority of the time my stuff is priced perfectly, and actually they usually err on the side of too much rather than not enough, in my opinion. So yeah, there's been some things I'm like, there's no way this is $3,200, and it wasn't. It was a Alexis dress that it was probably originally $700, but they put 3,200 on there.
That's awesome though, because that's better for you when buyers see that and they're like, wow, I'm really getting a deal.
They didn't know.
Unless they're familiar with the brand and they there's no way.
Right. You know better.
So one thing that I've come across with ThredUP is it feels like a lot of people think that you can only be successful on there if you're sending in designer things. And I think your Instagram does a really good job of showcasing that that's not the case. What are some brands that you would suggest people sending in, if you don't mind sharing, that aren't Lux?
I do a lot of Ann Taylor, Loft. Now, stay away from the outlets because they don't do as well, because they price them too low, like across the board. So, but yeah, regular Ann Taylor, regular Loft, Express, not everything, but some things like the career pieces do really well. Blazers, Lane Bryant, especially blazers for Lane Bryant, and pants and stuff like that. So, but I stay away from brands like Torrid. I don't send them in because they price them too low. So I'll keep those and list them myself. And because normally I can wear them too. So,
so funny that you say that, because for this just goes to show how different everyone's closets are. I cannot get Torrid to move on my Poshmark to save my life. And I just sent it into ThredUp, and I'm just so ecstatic with the payout that I got. So it's just one of those things that's so funny.
Well, I cross-list it to Mercari and eBay as well. And so it kind of helps me not having it just on Posh, because one of those it'll sell. Like I just sold a Torrid sweater on eBay for $20 today.
Love it. So that's a really good insight for those who are kind of just getting started with ThredUP. Please check out her Instagram. It has so much content. It's just overwhelmingly awesome. But I also want to talk about your Poshmark. So how long have you been reselling for?
Actually, it was 3 years on the 9th of this month. That I opened my Poshmark and listed my first item, which was some Clark sandals I got in England that did not fit me well.
Well, happy Poshiversary.
Thank you.
Was the community as big as it was now when you got started?
No, I mean, there was a few people I could follow, like on Instagram or on YouTube, but over the last 3 years, it's gotten much bigger. And there's so many people to follow. And I like to follow a large swath of people because I like to get a lot of opinions about something before I formulate an opinion myself or validate opinion of mine or whatnot.
Yeah, I love that. And that leads into my question where I'm not familiar with how much community there was beforehand, but was there any advice that you were given or that you heard when you first started that you wish you wouldn't have listened to?
Yeah, and it goes back to ThredUP. Because I was interested in the beginning of doing that, and there's so much information out there saying don't do it, you'll get pennies, and I was so scared to lose money because I was desperately trying to make enough money so I could quit my full-time job because I hated it. So and then I eventually did get to, but yeah, I wish I would have not listened to them and just done it, because usually I don't listen to people that give me any advice and I just do what I want.
Yeah, it's so funny how how real life and like social media life are so conflicting in so many ways. Going back to Poshmark, what do you think is the most important thing in a Poshmark listing? Title, photograph, description. What are the musts?
God, I think the photograph and the description are really kind of at the same point. They're kind of number one for me, because if you don't have a clear picture, although people can throw it on a bed against a dark background and still sell it, but I think if you want to consistently sell, you need to have nice, clear pictures, and you need to have a good description, and not just your title redone. Because I see a lot of people doing that too, or they'll just put in their title dress and then they'll put fairly used. And I'm like, okay. Those are my favorite.
Yeah, those are the ones where other resellers come in and they buy it because it didn't sell in the
right.
Just drop it, and then we flip it with a better title.
Right.
That's how it goes. I'm going to just look at my questions real quick because I lost my train of thought.
I did want to interject though. I found it much easier once I started using I use List Perfectly now. And so I found it so much easier to be more consistent about what I put in there, my keywords, because I have all these templates that it makes it much easier for me. And it's not as much of a time suck, because I used to hate listing. Like I hated it so much because it took so much time to do it. Now it doesn't at all.
If Listseed, I agree with that, and I also use List Perfectly. I cannot praise them or any other listing service. Doesn't matter. Assistant, it's like whatever it is.
Yeah, whatever you like.
I'm not cross-listing it. I endorse it. Because it is a pain in the butt to cross-list things. So that's probably maybe your number one thing you dislike about the whole process. What is
What?
What is your favorite part?
Oh, sourcing. I mean, by far. I love shopping. I love it.
When you go out sourcing, do you set yourself any kind of budget, or how do you go about knowing how much inventory you're going to purchase?
I don't set a budget, which is probably not the smartest thing. However, I only spend the money out of my business account, and money is only in my business account is the stuff I can spend. I can spend it down to zero if I want, because that's for the business and not for me. So
Yeah,
I don't buy lattes out of it, nothing.
Yeah. How long have you had two separate accounts, and what is it like having, because I know not everyone has separated their Posh account or their reselling account and their personal money. What has transpired since you've been able to do that?
Well, I've actually had a business account for the last 8 years. So I had a card business on Etsy that did not take off. So I used the same account for this venture as I did for that one, and I just added my Vandy's Closet onto my business license, and so it has a couple different names on it. I probably should get rid of the old card business name because I don't ever use it. I haven't used it in like 3 years. So, but it's a lot easier to keep track though. So I draft whatever, everything comes into the business account, and then I draft whatever I need for personal expenses out. And then because I have it in the same bank, so we just kind of shift it between the different accounts. And then whatever's left in that is stuff for me to spend that month. If I run out of money, I don't get to spend any more money until more money comes in.
Yeah, that's great. That's a great way to do it. Yeah, I would just buy too much. My card is like always at zero if I don't set a budget for myself, because I also
I mean, I have a basement full of stuff, so that I have not listed that I am now listing. Thank you for lockdown for that.
I have the opposite problem. I don't have a death pile, and now I'm like, what am I gonna do for inventory?
Oh, no.
So, but I'm figuring it out, because thankfully online sourcing has been very fruitful for me. So
That's good. Yes.
since we all love sourcing, I have to know, what is the first section of the thrift store that you're going to visit first?
If I go to a thrift store, because I like to go to the bins a lot, but if I go to a thrift store, I will go to dresses first. Dresses and shoes. I'm conflicted, so one or the other.
And what is your like dream brand to find?
Like in terms of like I've never found it before, or the one I like to find all the time.
Both. Let's do both.
Okay, so my dream brand to find would be probably Louis Vuitton. I like Louis Vuitton. I want to find one. I've never found one that wasn't fake. So, but what I like to find is I love Free People and Anthropologie. I think they're just the overall aesthetic for those two brands are, well, I guess it's a cluster of brands, is just great, and I just really love it.
I love that you say that, because a lot of people say that those are brands that they no longer pick up. How do you decide what piece you're going to pick up within those brands?
Well, I try to look at, what's trendy right now, blah, blah, blah. But I found that it doesn't really matter for ThredUP. So it doesn't need to be trendy items. I send in non-trendy items. Probably like 80% of what I send in is not trendy. So pretty much anything that's Free People and not damaged, I send to them. And if it's damaged, then I list it. And I find it still sells because people like people.
Yeah. So you don't have to answer this, because I hate asking like money questions or anything, but how much of your business would you say is like Poshmark and Mercari and eBay, and how much is ThredUp?
Like percentage?
Yeah, percent wise.
God, I say right now it's like 50% ThredUp.
How many active listings do you have on Posh versus how many active listings do you have on ThredUp?
Well, I just pulled about 200 items. So I did have about 700 items on ThredUp. And I usually hover around 800, 900, depending on how much I sent in the previous like 3-4 weeks ago. Right now I have about, is it 1,200 listings? Close to 1,200 listings on Poshmark, and I've cross-listed most of those to eBay now. But right now what's selling for me a lot is my Stamping Up stuff from my old business venture.
That's how these things go.
Yeah.
I find this so interesting. We keep going back to ThredUp, and I'm just gonna let it happen because it's natural. Do you now, when you go into the bins or to a store, when you put something in your cart, do you automatically, are you starting to get that feeling where you just know this is a Poshmark item, this is a ThredUp item?
Yeah, most of the time if I'm going to a thrift store, it's always a ThredUp item. Well, unless I find something just really unique that I just want to do, or men's stuff. But because the thrift stores have a much higher price point than like the bins, then I'm usually specifically targeting stuff for ThredUp. When I go to the bins, I do keep ThredUp in mind a lot, like, because I always get 100 pounds, because my bins, it's 89 cents a pound if I go over 100. So I'm getting things dirt cheap. And so it's easier to get to that goal now, because probably 3/4 of it now I'm sending to ThredUp. Well, before, when I could go, but
Yeah. What category do you feel like does the best on ThredUp?
dresses, for sure, dresses. Jeans and dresses.
Or like maxi, like what kind of dresses?
Cocktail and regular, like casual and cocktail, I think do best. When I go to the regular thrift store, I'm looking for cocktail dresses because they have usually like $200, $300, $400 price points, and I like that because I'm spending like $8 to $12 per dress. I need a couple $100 leeway to make some good money back.
Yeah, I feel that too. I also noticed that ThredUp likes their silk and wool items. Have you came across that as well?
Yeah, I kind of, and it's funny, they'll list things as wool when it's not technically wool, but it's like wool like, and they'll list it as wool. Like there's a bunch of coats I sent in, and they're like, it's a wool coat, and it wasn't, and it was a Zara. It was a purple plaid Zara coat that I sold, and I got $160 for that coat. But they said it was wool, but it wasn't. It was polyester. It was looks like wool. So
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I think it's very interesting to me how they price things and how the market is just so different from Poshmark.
well, I know they use AI technology for a lot of that. I've read a couple of articles about it. And I know that this next part is complete conjecture. I don't know for a fact if this is the way it happens, but I feel like, especially when they're doing like outlet things, I feel like it crawls out to the internet and it pulls prices, but it's pulling the sales price sometimes. So that's why it's being put at like $30. And it's like, no, no, no. And you look at the site and you're like, oh, well, skirts like this are $30 on sale right now. But so I don't know if they really do that, but I feel like that something like that happens. I don't know.
Make a lot of sense. That really would. If you have an item that sits for its 30 or 90-day window and it doesn't sell, do you let it go or do you take it back and send it in again?
Well, in the very beginning, I was letting some things go because I was sending stuff that I picked up like at the beginning of my reseller journey, and I was really bad about picking up good things. I picked up a lot of bad things in the beginning. But now, since I pick up a lot of better things, I do reclaim them. So and this is tricky. Now, you can reclaim 35 items for $6.58, which is great, which is actually pretty good because they're spending more than that to send it back to you. Usually comes in 2 to 3 boxes, depending on how bulky the items were. Or you can do like the 7-day bundle thing. And so I'll do that from time to time, like maybe like once a month. I'll buy $79 worth of stuff and I do the 7-day bundle. That way I can reclaim things. And that's why I reclaimed 200 items recently, because I'm doing that and it ends today. That I'm reclaiming things for free at that point. And it would have cost me whatever it would have cost me, probably 24, 30 bucks, something like that, to reclaim all that stuff. So I'm like, well, I might as well convert some of the money to a ThredUp credit and then get the bonus and then get it back that way. And some people are actually on a rewards program. I am not. I wish I was, but I'm not.
Reward program?
Nope, not everyone does either, and they won't roll it out to everyone. I've asked them like about 4 times about this, and I actually got it up to a management level because I asked to escalate it and escalate because I thought something broken with my account, and they're like, nope, not everyone's getting it right now because we're testing it. I'm like, okay.
Wow, I have it, but I also spend more money than I want to admit on ThredUp. But I feel like you probably do as well. Do you source a lot on ThredUp?
Sometimes, yeah, it really depends. Like this last time I sourced some things out of their outlet, which I think is the stuff that they get stuck with, that they're trying to clearance out basically. And so I did I did like $94 worth of clearance stuff. And so I can send right back to them and make me way more money.
That was going to be my question is, do you take that to sell on Posh or do you just send it right back in?
Yeah, sometimes there was a few items I think I'm gonna try on. If it doesn't fit me, I'll sell on a Posh because it's like kind of, I think it was like a Target brand or something like that. I won't send Target brands to ThredUp because they just don't price them high enough.
I don't like to put Target brands on anywhere except for Macari, just because shipping, people I feel like don't, unless you have a lot of Target brands and people can bundle it. ThredUp, the payout is too low, and Poshmark, if you don't have enough to bundle, they don't want to pay the shipping for it. So I feel like Target brands do so good on Macari for me. I don't know if you see that at all.
I don't know. I don't have a whole lot listed anyway, but on Macari and eBay, I do free shipping. So I could see them selling those 2 places way better than Poshmark because I don't do free shipping on there because you can't like offer it all the time. Although a lot of things, I'm relisting things from I'm relisting things from Poshmark recently because things are just sat at a too low of a price point for too long. And how about $5? No, how about no?
When you request bags, are you requesting the actual bags or do you just throw them on boxes?
I actually use my own boxes. I go to Lowe's and I buy the medium, not the heavy duty, just the regular medium moving box. It's $1.41 for me in my area. And it fits about 30 pounds pretty good. I do weigh it before I send it off because I don't want to be way over 30. And I have been way over 30 pounds before. I'm like, oh, those are really heavy shoes. Take some things out. But I know that there are people out there that say that the Lux program allows you to be unlimited and that it is not true. They actually have a fax out there, like their fax for Lux. It's somewhere on the internet. If you Google fax for Lux, then you'll find it. It's hard to find otherwise. But it does say keep it around 30 pounds. So I think they allow you a little leeway for the Lux program, but not really for the other one. So yeah, I try to keep it around 30 pounds because I want to kind of respect their rules and not, as much as I can, because I want them to respect my requests.
When you request labels, do you request as you're making the boxes or do you request a couple labels at a time and then send them in?
Well, you can request about 5 at a time if you just do the regular standard label, and I do the return assurance because I feel, and in talking with other people, I feel like they just don't process a lot of the stuff if you don't do that because they don't have to send it back to you and they get to keep it. And a lot of people have had that experience. So they've accepted a lot of mine, like 80%, I'd have to say is about my standard acceptance rate. But for Lux, in the beginning, you can only get 1. And then you ask for like 10 and they give you 4. And then you ask for 10 and then they give you 5. And then I said, look, I'm a reseller. I have a lot of inventory on my hands. I have a big house that I store it all in. Please give me more. And I have way more Lux items coming to me and blah, blah, blah. So it's all in how you word it. It's all in how your communication is. If you just ask for something and don't give any context for it, I think sometimes that hinders your ability to get more Lux labels. And so I did that. And then they started giving me 10 at a time. So
great advice.
Which is good because then that's enough right now for me. That I still do standard, but I do Lux as well because I don't always have that many Lux items. So
now they obviously haven't cut you off, but have you heard about them cutting people off who don't send in desirable items?
I've heard of it, but I don't know if I think people send in ripped up stuff, stuff that's stained, stuff that's not in good repair. So I'd be interested to know what their acceptance rate was prior to being cut off. So there's always more to the story, I feel, that people don't relay or don't realize was part of it. So I feel since majority of my items get accepted, and I've had 5 boxes where 100% were accepted before this all happened. I know they're accepting at a higher rate right now than they were before, but even before our whole situation happened, they were accepting me at a higher rate than a lot of other people. And they send you the email. Most people get 40%. And it's like, wow, I'm doing much better.
Yeah.
I think it's just paying attention to detail, pay attention to rips, tears, armpit stains, you know, Menzies stains. I hate to say it, but you know, it happens. And if you pay attention to that kind of stuff, I still miss stuff. I get things back that I sent twice and I looked at it again. I'm like, oh, this does have an armpit stain. Oops. And then I fix it.
If someone has never sent in a box before, what tips would you give them to make it so that their products might be, or their items rather, might be accepted?
I really, it goes back to just making sure he doesn't know rips, stains, or tears in your items. I actually don't steam my items before I send them. And they must do something with steaming, because I've sent things that I know wrinkled along the way, and they were way less wrinkled when they took a picture of them. But then there's things that they are really wrinkled when they took a picture of them, but they still sold. So I think what's the most important is not the wrinkles in the clothing, because people can get that out and they know that. I think the most important thing is to get that, I don't want to call it a label, but the description of, you might mistake this for brand new.
Mm,
That makes a big difference in my opinion.
yeah, I agree. But then again, I've also bought stuff that you could mistake for brand new.
Right. Absolutely. And you're like, no, you cannot mistake this for brand new.
Well, this has just been so insightful. Thank you so much. Before we go, are there any PFFs in your community that you'd like to highlight that we should be following?
Yes, I have a few friends that the first one is her name is Amnia, and she's Thrift with Chibi on Instagram. And it's so funny because we started connecting over one of her posts, and then we haven't stopped talking since. I literally talk to her every day, and we have become basically, well, she's one of my best friends, I would consider. So we literally talk about everything. I bounce ideas off of her. And then my friend Kristen, she lives in my local area, and I met her at Posh Party Live. And she is one of my whimsical friends, I would call, and I just love her posts. And then my friend Autumn.
I'm sorry, what was her handle?
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yeah, it's really long and complicated.
I'm going to link all of these down below too, friends, so you'll be able to click them quite quickly.
It's fallen down the rabbit hole again. It's so long, it's ridiculous. I've told her that too.
I like
And but it's so pretty and whimsical at the same time. And then my friend Autumn, she has no, I don't know how to say this right. I don't know if it's no X fawn or Nox fawn. So sorry if I butchered that. But she has a beautiful like pictures. Like her flat lays are beautiful, and her mannequin ones are beautiful. It's just, her content is really pretty, and I just really enjoy it. And she's just the sweetest person as well. She just wants to help everyone.
Love it. So I definitely am going to link those down below so you guys can check those out. I also have all of Melissa's links down below as well. If anyone has any ThredUP questions, how can they reach out to you? What's best?
Instagram by far is probably the best way to get a hold of me.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for taking time out of your day to talk to me. This has been so insightful for me, and I know for everyone else. So thank you, and have a wonderful day.
Thank you. It's been my honor.